I want to give you a full demonstration of how the MixAssist plugin works with sound devices. The mixer I'm going to use is the MixPre-10 II. You can see here that MixAssist is in action. It's doing its thing. But before I demonstrate how it actually works, I'm going to explain how to get the plugin and get it onto your mixer. If you've never installed a plugin from Sound Devices, it's really easy to do. I'm going to show you how it works. You just go to the Sound Devices website, go under Shop Now to the online store. Once you're in the store, you just have to find the Noise Assist plugin, see all plugins. We're going to go down, MixAssist. So you can see that all you have to do to buy this is put in your serial number for your mixer to make sure that your mixer can run it. And it's $99. Okay. I'm going to recommend that every Sound Devices user installs this plugin. It's incredible. It is one of the most useful plugins that Sound Devices has. I am a huge fan of this plugin. And you'll notice down here in the description that all of the recent Sound Devices mixers can take this plugin. So 6 series, 7 series, 8 series, also the original version of the MixPre and the version 2 of the MixPre can all take this plugin. What you do after you buy it is you download it, you put it on an SD card, you load that SD card into your mixer, you go to the settings where the plugins are applied. It's a little bit different depending on the mixer you have, but you can find it there in the settings. You say apply plugins. If it's on the SD card, it will find it, it will install it. Here's a quick thing about Sound Devices plugins. You cannot download them and put them on multiple mixers. You can install it on one mixer. It's not transferable. It stays with the mixer for the entire life of the mixer. Just note that. You can't change it around, okay? If you look at this website here, you can see that there's a whole series of documentation about how automix works, okay? It goes into lots of detail about it, and I'm going to demonstrate it here for you on my MixPre-10 II. So on the MixPre, the place you find the settings for MixAssist is under the input menu. On the third page, you'll see the MixAssist settings, and then the top selection is to turn the feature on or off. The second selection is to activate the ring LEDs for the faders. And then the third section is to select which channels that you're going to insert into the MixAssist system. For this example, you can see that I have MixAssist turned on for the first 5 channels. I don't have the 6th channel in the system. The setup for this is I had 5 lav mics. This is a panel discussion. The 6th channel is a room mic that I just had in there for ambient sound. So you can see MixAssist is doing a good thing with these first 5 channels. The LED ring around the faders directly corresponds with the green line that shows up at the top of the VU for each individual track. So you can see that multiple tracks can have the green LED indicator at one time, so it's not mutually exclusive to one track. Also, MixAssist is just assisting. As you can see, I'm using my fingers to also mix. So the best case scenario for MixAssist is that it's working, plus you're working. Together with it, you can make a killer mix of multiple channels. In fact, it would be almost impossible to get a good mix of 5 microphones without MixAssist doing its thing. So a little bit about what MixAssist is doing here. For each microphone, it is listening to the varying sounds. So it's not going to be listening to steady state sounds like air conditioning and stuff. It's listening to the sounds that change. And then it's going to turn on the microphone that has the most speech sounds, okay? And then all of the microphones together are compared to what Sound Devices calls the max bus. And that means that it's continuously comparing all those channels to the max that it's going to allow, which is 0 dB. And what it's doing is it's turning down microphones that aren't in use by around 15 dB. So what this does is it results in a really nice sounding mix because you don't have comb filtering and things like phase cancellation and all that kind of stuff. So what you have to do to make this work is you have to get the gains of all of your microphones really, really accurate. And you want to, as you're watching the MixAssist LEDs, you want to make sure that really they're only activating if someone is talking on the mic. You'll know that your gains are set a little wrong if someone starts talking and the green line and the LED ring doesn't turn on, or multiple channels turn on when just one person is talking. So you have to make sure that your gains are set very accurate. Not too high, not too low. We're saying accurate because you don't want more than one microphone to open when a single person is talking. And conversely, you don't want the situation where no microphone opens when someone is talking. It's very important to note that the MixAssist is modifying the gain of the channels. It's not modifying the fade. Okay, so the fade control is still completely in your hands. You have to actively be fading these channels while the MixAssist system is doing its magic in the background. So the situations that I find I can't really do without MixAssist are those situations where I have to provide a live mix of multiple microphones, either to a camera or in a situation where I'm on live TV, where it's like actually going out to a live broadcast. I really couldn't create a high quality mix of multiple microphones without MixAssist in place. I mean, I could get close, but the main thing that MixAssist does is it allows you to have the non-active microphones automatically turned down, which creates a considerably cleaner mix. It's kind of an algorithm of reduction, not an algorithm of addition. So the system is kind of like a really elegant gating system that is fully aware of all the channels in the system. So it's not just a single channel that's automatically gating and gaining down. It's every channel is aware of the other channels. And the idea is for it to create a consistent 0 dB mix. And it is incredible. Here's an example of MixAssist working in the field. This was from NBA Finals for ESPN.
Pero los chavos de 25 años, todas las personas que le pregunté de afuera, pues, evidentemente se lo dan a Teresa.
A ver, al juego.
No hay respuesta incorrecta.
No hay respuesta incorrecta.
No hay respuesta incorrecta.
No. También se la
La
de Reggie.
línea es
Sí, ¿verdad?
Thunder favorito por 6.5.
Caray.
Otra vez.
¿Cómo le faltan al respeto a los Pacers? ¿No?
Tremendo.
¿No les parece?
¿Qué tomas ahí?
Haber dicho que está fishy esa línea.
And here's another example of MixAssist in the field. This was for the NFL Combine also for ESPN.
The NFL Scouting Combine is underway in Indy, meaning the NFL, GMs, coaches, scouts, you name it. Everyone's here. The focus on the future of the league, including Travis Hunter. I caught up with him this morning, found out if teams are treating him as a corner or a wide receiver. You'll hear what he has to say about that.
Now the next step is figuring out the tackle position. They're sort of in the same position they were last year. You do have Kingsley Suamataia, who they drafted, tried out, benched. Do they see development from him? Do you want to bring in DJ Humphries and get some competition?
And I'm sure there'll be a lot of curious teams, especially at the top of the draft with him being the projected #1 overall pick potentially.
NFL Live is brought to you by Dairy Queen. More from Indy after this.
So just like anything in production, the tools are just there for you to be more efficient. Chasing channels when you have 4 people in front of the camera is almost impossible. So I use MixAssist as just a boost to get me closer to the final mix. So it's listening, it's calculating, it's doing its thing, and then me as the audio mixer, I'm just fading the channels to create a clean, professional mix. So get out there and do some good sound. We'll see you in the next one.